Welcome back to Winning the Division, episode 73, a special edition here. Ryan Smith alongside former NFL tight end Ben Troop. And let's welcome Florida University alum David Bearman, host of so many different things. But David, it's excited to have you on, buddy. How's it going?
Good. And Betting with Bearman is the main podcast I do on the Believe Podcast Network. And I also got the Betting with Bearman newsletter that you can get. And happy to be on with Ben. We overlapped a little bit at the University of Florida when I was in grad school getting a sports management master's degree. You were a nice little freshman there at Florida. So I remember you. I remember I covered the team. You probably don't remember me at all. I looked like I was 12 years old and I was covering the team. And I was there. I probably interviewed you once or twice.
David, it's always a pleasure to have a University of Florida alum on, and I just want to ask you this. I mean, when you talk about betting and what you're doing now, yes. Did you ever see it becoming what it has become? Because betting has always been around the game. I mean, it's always been around it. Did you ever see it becoming the juggernaut it has become now?
I'm not sure I thought it would ever be this big. I did envision a day where the federal law PASPA would be overturned, which happened in 2018. And we don't have enough time to go through the whole thing, but about 2014, I started doing things while I was at ESPN. I was in the stats and research department at ESPN. I started building out sports betting databases with basically saying, hey, we're going to use sports betting data the same way we use regular data. I can tell you that the Gators are 1-4 versus the Bulldogs. But what if I told you they covered all 5 times? And using that as a vice of just a toolbox. It's a tool in a toolbox. It's just another wrench. Knowing that there were stipulations and the leagues would not like it, and you can't show the logos at the time, and you couldn't say certain words at the time, and it was mostly tongue-in-cheek back in our day. So I started doing that knowing that some point it would be so worth people monetarily, the boon of like the gold rush. At some point, I mean, they did it with alcohol back in the 30s. They're like, all right, prohibition, that's cute and all, but you can make money here. That at some point the leagues would wake up, it would be overturned, and there would be a business. And that's what I saw happening. I don't think I ever thought it would get this big. But to answer your question, I did see a day where legalized sports betting would go. I don't know if I thought we'd be in 30 states so fast, but we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on, Speed. I got a follow up. So are you telling me that the real statisticians, because most teams got statisticians, are you telling me that the real statisticians are you guys, the betting guys, are we the ones? Like we know everything the statistician knows, but we also know who's covering.
I have databases left and right. That doesn't mean that I know it's going to happen. Like the Broncos are an 8.5-point favorite on Thursday Night Football versus the Raiders. I don't necessarily know which side's going to cover, but I can tell you how often the Denver Broncos cover an 8.5-point spread, and I can tell you how often they cover versus the Raiders. I can tell you that if you have Brock Bowers and his over-under is 62.5 tonight, how often he gets over 62.5 versus below 62.5, and I could give you all those stats to make you a smarter bettor, which quite honestly, Ben, is my business. I have my own Betting with Bearman LLC, and the whole purpose of that is to educate the bettor to make them smarter, and then you go make the decision. I'm not placing the bet button for you. I'm not placing the bet button for Ryan. I am giving you all the information. You go to the newsletter at bearmanbets.com, and you're going to get all my information. I gave people information tonight. My number one thing tonight was the Raiders won't score 17 points because that was the total for the Raiders. Well, it's 7 at halftime, so we'll see if I'm right or wrong. But I gave you the reasons why I thought they wouldn't get there, and that's the stats that are behind it.
The fantasy football, you sound like a fantasy football guru. That's what you sound like. I guarantee you, Smitty over there saying, hey, man, I'm going to have to call David before David. Should I draft him or should I?
We already had some discussions offline before you came on. David, I know you're an apologist of the Miami Dolphins. I promise I'm not going to get into that specifically, but we don't have time for that. That'd be a much longer podcast. Thoughts on the NFL trade deadline? Sauce Gardner got traded to the Colts. Quinnen Williams going to the Cowboys. Rashid Shaheed going to the Seattle Seahawks. Any of the moves that stuck out to you that you loved? Anything that you stuck out that you didn't like? Your overall thoughts. And Ben, same thing goes to you since we haven't had the time to get on this podcast to talk about that since the trade went down.
I just look at the major trade with Sauce and the Colts. The Colts are going all in. They're sitting there at the top of the division. They're a contender for the Super Bowl this year, and they're not mincing any words. They're going to trade 2 future first-round picks to shore up an area that was seen as a weakness. And on the flip side, you mentioned I'm a Dolphins fan, and I don't say this often, but give the Jets all the credit for doing the fire sale and realizing, all right, what's going on now is not working. So we're going to hit the reset button. We got a new coach 7 games ago. We're going to reset with this new coach and try to build. It's something the Miami Dolphins did back in 2019 that at one point you thought was going to pay off in 2023. And now, as you notice, in 2025, they're resetting again. They didn't make those trades. So the Jets did things that I wanted the Dolphins to do, try to trade Bradley Chubb, try to trade Sealer. I didn't want them to get rid of Waddle, but other trades that did not happen besides Phillips to the Eagles.
I mean, mine is simple. I mean, the thing about it is this. Yes, Quentin Williams is a big name going to a bad defense. I mean, anybody in the league could use Quentin Williams. If you can't use a Quentin Williams, you shouldn't be coaching football. Sauce Gardner, they're trying to get him back to what he was his first couple of years in the league when he was back-to-back first-team All-Pros. But a guy that I thought was a steal that I think is going to do numbers now is a former Dolphin. That's Jalen Phillips. Him going to the Eagles to where he doesn't have to be the guy to pair with, I don't know, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and Azeez Ojulari and Nola Smith is going to be coming back, and they get Michael Carter in the slot, and they go and trade for Jair Alexander. The Eagles are going all in. They are going for it. Howie Roseman makes the other 31 GMs think, dude, what are we doing? We're not earning. Howie Roseman probably is trying to make a trade right now, because he's always trying to make sure that the guys on the team know I'm always trying to get your replacement. I'm trying to make sure the best 11 is out there every single time. And like I say, he's definitely playing chess. I don't know what the other 31 GMs are doing. He's playing chess, and
Florida
he's doing
it. Howie Roseman.
Yes.
The guy gave up a 3rd-round pick, didn't pay for Phillips' salary, and then when he loses Phillips next year, he's going to get a 3rd or 4th-round pick back. It's like he didn't give up anything, and he's got a guy who's one of the better DNs in the league, and all Miami's left with is a 3rd-round pick after they spent a 1st-round pick, and they had to pay the guy's salary as well. So all Miami got is cap relief next year. But then again, they gave up a young player that could have been good.
And what this is not, what the Colts are not telling you, but you can kind of read in between the lines, that means Daniel Jones is going to be extended here pretty soon. I mean, no 1st-round pick next year, no 1st-round pick 27. They're telling you Daniel Jones is their guy. They're going to extend him there no matter how this season turns out. You've got some people thinking this is the 2024 Minnesota Vikings who might win 13 games and then sputter in the 1st round. We'll see if that comes to pass for these versions of the Colts.
I mean, Daniel Jones has it figured out. You have a good year in New York, you get $160 million salary. Doesn't matter how bad you were, you still got it. Go to Indianapolis, you're going to get a long-term deal. He's got it. Daniel Jones has it figured out.
Daniel Jones is the steal of the offseason because he had his pick of the litter, and he said, hey, man, I think I'm better than Anthony Richardson. I think I'm a more able and ready quarterback than Anthony Richardson right now. And if you are the coach for that front office, I know that Jim Irsay's daughter, she's looking like everything she's doing is working right now, her and her 2 sisters. And for that coaching staff, because they were getting ready to be gone. That whole coach staff was going. Anthony Richardson going to get that whole coaching staff fired. Because of Daniel Jones, they look like geniuses. You know why? Because they hand the ball off to Jonathan Taylor, right? They throw the ball to play action to Warren, right? And Pittman, and they play good defense. And they just got Sauce Gardner. They just got Sauce Gardner in a AFC South that all they really got to do was not fall off a cliff, beat Jacksonville. Everybody's going to beat the Titans. And I think Houston Texans are starting to come back down to reality, realize that maybe we were just a real good team out the first 2 years under DeMeco Ryans and C.J. Stroud in a real bad division.
Yeah, I was out on the Texans from the beginning. I had Jacksonville sneakily winning this division. I didn't think the Colts would do this, but I was out on Houston from the beginning. I took their under 9.5 wins. I just wasn't high on them. They got rid of their entire offensive line. Not good. CJ Stroud's running for his life every single game.
Yeah. I would be remiss if we didn't go really quickly into the Florida side of things. David, obviously we talked a little bit before we got on, and then you mentioned at the beginning, Florida, your connections there, and you kind of overlapped at the University of Florida. Talk about your time at Florida and kind of what that gave you platform-wise and just being who you are now in the betting industry.
Yeah, I was at Florida from 1996 to 2001. My freshman year, Danny Werfel and Spurrier, they won the national title. It was a good introduction to Florida football, having come from Miami and growing up in the Orange Bowl with the Hurricanes in the 80s and early 90s. Got to Florida, they win the national title. I then eventually got to cover the team as a reporter for WRUF AM 850. Was there, and that's how I got my career started, doing on-air radio, on-air TV, interviewing Spurrier, going to bowl games, going to big games in Knoxville and Baton Rouge and the SEC championship games, a launching point for things that were to come in the future. And, like I said, I covered Ben for a couple of years as well. And the last game at the University of Florida was the Orange Bowl with Spurrier and Florida beating Maryland up at the Orange Bowl.
And David, even with that, I mean, the thing about it is most people in life go to college and they hope to, get a job in their field. They hope that, it's able to take care of them and their family. The University of Florida, what made you know this is for me? Because, when you go to college, I mean, sometimes you're like, well, dude, I thought I wanted to do this, but then listen to my parents. I'm looking at those guys around me. I'm looking in the classified section back when people read the newspaper. What was it about WRUF? What was it about covering Florida made you know, okay, I can see myself having a career in this field?
It was just the ability that they allowed the students to go out and cover the team. I was a reporter. I had my own talk show, a sports talk show before the advent of the podcast. We had an actual 5-day-a-week student-run talk show that I did in between summers. I would go and do minor league baseball and do play-by-play and broadcasting at Florida under Larry Vitale and then Steve Russell. A little shout out to those guys, worked under them. That gave me the confidence that I knew that when I graduated, I could go into minor league baseball and do single A play-by-play and PR. Eventually got my way to AAA and doing play-by-play and PR for them, which got me to the Florida Marlins, which eventually got me to ESPN, where I spent 18 years doing broadcasting, doing TV, doing research, stats, analytics, and sports betting. But it all started really at the University of Florida.
For those who may not be as familiar with, and I know you got the newsletter they can go read, but kind of a very general introduction here for those who may not be as familiar with sports betting as it's kind of taking over what we see now and how we see it. For lack of a better phrase that I cannot think of right at the moment, how would you introduce someone who's never done any type of sports betting? General elementary type stuff. How would you introduce somebody to that and kind of convince them to take them along for this ride?
Just like anything else, it's education. It's learning what a point spread is, what a money line is, what the juice is, what the books are offering, what you can do, and where you can find your stats. And some people do it based on feel. Some do it based on what someone tells them to do. Some people just like to bet their favorite teams. The Betting with Bearman newsletter and podcast goes deeper than that. It gives you the stats. It gives you the notes. It gives you the tricks to go around what the books are trying to do to you. Just educate yourself on what you're doing. Don't just throw money in an account and go put it on the Miami Dolphins because you like them. Educate yourself, learn what the field is. And I told you about this off air. I might as well break the news now. I'll be teaching a class at the University of Florida as an adjunct professor in the spring called Fantasy Sports Betting and the Media. It's under the School of Journalism. It's an elective class that goes through the history of fantasy sports and sports betting and how it can have an impact on the media and how you can get a job and a career in that field like I did over the course of time. And that's what it's a brand new class, hasn't been taught before. And we'll be doing that at the University of Florida, which is, you just asked Ryan, what is a good place to enter? And that would be it. Like, we're trying to educate people and make it a career, not just a hobby. And that's what I'll be doing in the spring at the University of Florida.
David, man, before I got to get out of here, man, because I'm super duper booked on Thursday, is that your full circle moment? You went to Florida, you 18 years at ESPN now. Hey, David, hey, man, you ever thought about, because people always talk about innovation. People better know that Florida be trying to stay ahead of the curve and say, look, we're going to embrace this thing and try to be on the side of this thing and not against this thing.
1,000%, Ben. It was a complete full circle moment. I had a conversation with a professor at Florida. We were just going back and forth about what our passions were. And it was like, hey, I wouldn't mind teaching a class in journalism or sports management on how to work in sports. And he goes, well, what is your passion? I said, well, I have a a company about educating people in betting, and I've been doing betting for years. And the conversation ended up with, would you want to teach a class in sports betting? And I was like, oh, really? And listen, I have a master's degree and I've taught places before, but did I ever think I would see a day where it doesn't matter what the university is? You asked me, Ben, at the very beginning, did I ever think sports betting would be where it is? Some yes, some no. Did I ever think I'd be teaching a class back at the University of Florida? By the way, I just got a Gator Link ID the other day, which happened to be the same Gator Link ID I had 25 years ago.
Yes.
So you talk about full circle. I have a uf.edu account. I have a Gator Link account. And yeah, I'll be teaching at the University of complete full circle moment. Along
Professor David Bearman, to those who don't know. Dave, this is David Smitty, man. I got to get out of here, man. I appreciate you, David, man. Smitty, you the man. You already know.
See you, Ben.
Yeah, and so Ben Shrew making his cameo appearance with my co-host here on Winning the Division as he goes off and does more podcasts. But David, yeah, it's going back to Ben's original question. I get people asking me all the time about betting and just how does it work, and so that's why I'm glad you explained that a little bit of how to best the approach as some people, including myself, even I'm relatively new to betting over the last, I want to say probably 3 to 4 years, I want to say. So it's been a slow grind for me, and I'm still very conservative in kind of what I do. But I have some of the more knowledge now than I would say that I had a couple of years ago even. But yeah, it's in this whole sports book thing out in, I think, Vegas, right? People do that. Is that still a thing, right? People go out to the sports book. They still do that. They still do that. Okay.
I still do. I mean, most of the time it's, right here on your phone, but yes,
right,
you still go out there.
Yeah. But now with a lot of these states, and you know this, people don't have to leave their house at 7 a.m., go do a 2-hour drive across the state line, place their bets at 12 o'clock, and come back for their football game. It's legal in a lot of states now, which they can just do it on their phone right from their house and sipping their coffee or whatever it is. It's amazing we can now do all of that, and like you said, the state of sports betting. I guess to follow up on Mid's original question, though, do you think it's out of control at some point? Do you feel like there needs to be guardrails behind it? I mean, people talk about the NIL obviously right now and kind of being the wild west in college football, and kind of needed some guardrails with the NIL. Do you think sports betting kind of needs some guardrails as well? I mean, I know there's obviously the 1-800 numbers. They always say gamble responsibly, which is a nice caveat, but we all know that people are going to do what they're going to do at the end of the
day. There are more guardrails than you think there are, specifically on the player front. I know in the news recently was the FBI indictment on a couple of NBA players and coaches. And I think people saw that in a different light than what it really was. People see sports betting exploding over the last 6 to 7 years, and then an FBI case, and people are linking it, well, because of legalized betting, you're going to have this, and people are looking at it backwards. And this is not me defending the field. This is me telling you the facts.
Yeah.
NBA, NFL, hockey, college you want. This stuff has been going on for decades. You go back to the 50s with the mobs. This thing's been going on where people have been taking money or shaving points. There's the Boston College scandal. There's numerous other scandals over time. You just didn't really know about them because they weren't really caught. It's been going on, but every once in a while, one was caught and became national attention, etc. Now that we have legalized sports betting, every one of these leagues, and we'll get to the NCAA in a minute, the NFL, Major League Baseball, hockey, Major League Soccer, etc., they have watchdogs and they have things and guardrails that alert them when stuff's going on that shouldn't be going on. The whole stuff that's alleged with Porter and Billups and all of that was caught because of the guardrails that have been put in place. I'm not saying that they would have gotten away with it without the guardrails, but that type of stuff has been going on. I mean, the Tim Donaghy thing was with the refereeing in the NBA going on for decades before it was caught. Now that thing wouldn't go on more than a week without getting caught, because every time there's suspicious betting, it gets caught or flagged, and then investigation, the FBI is brought in. So I'm trying to say that the legalization of sports betting, regardless of if you think it went too far or not, did result in them having the FBI catching these people. it was caught because of that. It may not have been caught without it. That being said, the leagues, as well as the NCAA, can do better things to prevent things from happening. I think it's unfortunate that college kids or even young adults at college games can scream and yell at players and coaches and death threats and all that because of the fact that they're now legally allowed to bet. Those things should be curbed. I think if you are someone that does that, you should probably be banned from going to a game. Maybe they should not have betting allowed in some of the college arenas or stadiums to prevent that type of stuff. Furthermore, the issues at hand that you saw in the NBA the last couple of years and that you've seen in college sports have to do with low-level prop betting on players that are not popular. You're not ever going to see a scandal with LeBron James. You're not going to see a scandal with a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. The scandals are on the players that are on the bench in the NBA that are playing 7 minutes a game that, hey, if I only play 5 minutes tonight and pretend I'm hurt or sick, no one's even going to notice because I've been playing 7 minutes a night all year. I get away with it. That's what happened with Porter is he was playing 7 or 8 minutes a game. And my question would be, and I'm a guy who likes betting props, why are there props available for a guy who plays 7 minutes a game? You're never going to get rid of props on LeBron James or Lamar Jackson or Mendoza, like the big time players. You're never going to convince any sports book to not offer that. That's their cow. That's their money maker. They're always going to have props on the big players. Steph Curry, Drake May, on and on and on.
Etc. Yeah.
But like, do you need a prop on the fourth wide receiver off the bench who the prop
Probably
is 1.5 catches? It's really easy to manipulate 1.5 catches. It's really easy to manipulate 2.5 rebounds if you're playing 7 minutes a game. So I would say put some sort of threshold in there where props can still exist at a macro level, but let's dive in and eliminate some of the micro level stuff of players who don't play that often. Eliminate things, and you might see a different result with some of that stuff. Again, like, you don't need that. It's not, first of all, the books don't make money off of those players. You're not making money off of Porter. You're making money off everybody who's betting on Steph Curry and LeBron James and the Lakers and the Warriors, on and on and on. So the books would probably be okay taking a step back from the smaller type bets.
I'll ask you a quick question on your Miami Dolphins. Obviously, Chris Greer, GM, general manager there in South Beach, recently let go. Mike McDaniel will be remaining the coach for the rest of the year. Do you have any thoughts on the state of the Dolphins going forward beyond 2025? Do you feel like I'll just ask you this. Are they not doing Mike McDaniel a favor by not firing him at this point? Letting him coach the rest of the year? Because I'm sure deep down inside, if you gave him truth serum, he'd come out and say, "Sure, I'll be fired right now. That sounds great to me."
I think what they want to do is bring in a new GM and let the new GM make the decision, because, they got rid of the GM. When you hire a new one, let him make the decision on whether he wants to coach or not, because then it's his hire. I don't think Mike McDaniel has grown as a coach from year 2 to year 4. That being said, the problems with the Miami Dolphins go a lot further and deeper than Mike McDaniel. The roster that they put together was paper mache. They didn't build in the trenches. You can sign and trade for as many Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddles and Devon Achanes that you want. If you can't block and you can't protect your quarterback, there's nothing you can do about it. And now they have a quarterback who they invested a lot of money in, who is damaged. Call it what it is. He's had way too many hits to the head. He's scared to throw the ball. He's scared to take hits. I was a big, big proponent of Tua. I said give him the money. He's not the quarterback he was a couple of years ago, and that's going to hamper them, because that's $50 to $60 million every single year that you look at teams like the San Francisco 49ers, they can build because they had Brock Purdy on a rookie deal. The New England Patriots rebuilt because they have Drake May on a rookie deal. These teams can do that, and the Miami Dolphins no longer have that, so they're going to be in cap hell for a while.
For a team like the Dolphins, I'll go and extend this to the Cardinals. I mean, do you propose a trade? I'm just making this up on air here. Kyler Murray for Tua, straight up. I mean, these two guys could easily just swap places, and
They can't. They can't. There's too much dead cap. If the Miami Dolphins trade Tua, they're on the hook for like a $90 million cap hit. So that's not going to happen. They're not going to be traded for. Tua is going absolutely nowhere because they have a $91 million cap hit if they move him or cut him. So Tua Tagovailoa will be on the Dolphins roster next year. Whether he's a starter or not is really up to the head coach. But he isn't going anywhere. Ignore all the hubba bubba you hit on the internet. Like, he'll be the quarterback because they have no choice at this point. Now, could they do what Denver did and cut their losses and cut them and say, screw it, we're going to take the big cap hit? Absolutely. Right. That's the decision the new general manager has to make. That being said, not many people are going to come in and say, I want the Dolphins job. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a $90 million cap hit. And then expect to succeed. You'd be better off keeping a quarterback and trying to succeed with him while grooming a replacement that you draft in the upcoming draft. So, or getting a bridge like a Sam Darnold or Daniel Jones or somebody of that nature that could bridge between Tua and the next quarterback. But you just, at this point, he's untradeable and uncuttable unless you want to take that big cap hit.
As we wind down here on Winning the Division, a special episode here with David Bearman. Last two for you here, David. Florida Gators, do you have a thought on their next head coach in the football world? Lane Kiffin is obviously a name that's out there. Eli Drinkowitz. Obviously, betting aside, personally, do you have a favorite? Do you have someone you want?
I would want Lane Kiffin. I wanted Lane Kiffin last time. I wanted Lane Kiffin the time before that. And I think I wanted Lane Kiffin the time before that. So I would like Lane Kiffin. I'd be fine if it was Eli Drinkowitz. Not sure there's anybody else that I would want. I'll throw it out there. I would like John Gruden as well, but I'm not sure that's going to happen either.
Brett Key's name has been out there, I believe, a little bit as well. If I'm not mistaken.
Maybe. What I don't want them to do is I don't want them to go get another Group of 5 coach, a Sunbelt Billy or a Jim.
Great name.
Like, get me a seasoned coach or somebody who's done this before. Like, Lane and Eli have done it in the SEC. Give me one of them. That's fine.
Tell the listeners a little bit more about Betting with Bearman and where they can find you and how they can get involved.
Yeah, my Twitter handle right there, @David Bearman, is the easiest place to find me. That's where you find me, Ryan. Betting with Bearman, you can listen to the podcast on the Believe Podcast Network. We had Chris the Bear Felica from Fox Sports, the big show on Big Noon on Saturday, and formerly of College Game Day. I worked with Chris the Bear Felica for about 15 years before we both left ESPN. And bearmanbets.com is where you can sign up for that 3-day-a-week newsletter. Mondays are free, and Wednesday and Friday, I give you a little free, and then it's, hey, I got to put food on the table somehow. So I'm on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Betting with Bearman is usually my handle when it comes to those, and I rarely ignore anybody. You reached out randomly, and here we are on the pod, and unless I'm not able to do something, I'll always give people my time.
Awesome. This has been great, David. Last question for you. Kind of this, we already talked about sports betting and kind of the state of sports betting, but obviously ESPN had their big announcement about, going away from PIN entertainment, all of that. Fox has their thing, obviously DraftKings, FanDuel. We know all of these things obviously exist. The companies like ESPN with their fight with Disney and obviously Fox with their thing. What is kind of the state of cable and streaming with the betting, and do you have a take on any of that and kind of how that, because it's like we were bashed over our heads like 5 years ago. Okay, cut the cord, cable's no longer a thing, streaming's the way of the future, it's here, it's coming, and now people are going back to cable. At least I think some people are, and then you've got people in between like myself who've cut cable, but then I have YouTube TV. I'll be quite honest with you. I can still watch it in some of the other platforms, if you will. But I'm not thrilled about the whole Disney YouTube TV thing right now. If I'm being honest.
Yeah, and stay away from the whole ESPN bet, DraftKings, Penn thing. That could be a whole nother hour. I was part of putting together those deals in the past, and not going to violate any of that. But
no.
As far as streaming is concerned, and the fight with YouTube TV and the carriers, that's just happens. It happened when it was on linear TV. It's going to happen on streaming. It'll eventually work itself out there. As far as where TV's headed, it's going to direct to consumer. The new ESPN all-in thing and the Fox thing, that's all where the future is. And to be honest, you went from linear to digital. You went from the bundle to unbundling to now rebundling. And I mean, they're all doing the right things by giving you the options. It just sucks when the option's taken away because of a fight with. I have YouTube TV as well. I have other ways to watch things we won't get into, but that'll end itself at some point.
Yeah. Well, David Bearman, Betting with Bearman, has been our guest today here on Winning the Division. David, thank you so much for coming on the show. I know we both all had limited time tonight, so thank you so much for coming on. Rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. We'll see you guys next week for our normal week wrap and preview segments in the NFL recapping week number 10. We'll see you guys next time.